This is not Bob Staunton, genius broadcaster and throat-clearing phlegm spitter. Are you intelligent? If not, then subscribe and like the Tommy Boyds Shrine YouTube channel. This hour celebrates physical perfection. There is nothing more perfect than a body like mine. I came second in a Russell Brand lookalike contest. The lady who won it was very humble.
I had 5 minutes answering the phones myself during the news, which was very interesting in itself. And before we just leave for the last time today, the question of Jesus, what was he like as a man? What sort of hobbies might he have had? If he played sport, what would it have been? We had speculated that he might have been a swimmer. We will be changing the subject in this hour of the programme, but I can't say cheerio to this subject without bringing Keith in from Norfolk. Keith, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, you said he could have been a swimmer. If he was a sportsman.
I did.
I don't see how he could have been, really.
Because?
Well, he'd have been walking on the water. He'd have been cheating.
Thank you, Keith. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Let's talk about physical perfection. Let's talk about what you look like compared to what the world's beautiful people look like. Or the world's not so beautiful as you people. Physical perfection. Perfection. Isn't it fantastic? Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's so much easier to be physically perfect. It's so much easier if you are physically perfect. Life is an absolute dream. It should therefore be the aspiration of all of us. When we're choosing our partner in life, it's our duty to make sure that he or she is as beautiful and as damn near physically perfect as possible, because it's so much easier to be physically perfect. And if you've got the dough, and if you haven't, there's always ways. Cosmetic surgery is the answer if you are anything less than physically perfect, because it's great to be physically perfect. Free call 0500 10 53 89. If you're physically perfect, you don't have to bother acquiring a personality. Your looks will carry you as far as you want to go, maybe even further. We all know, don't we, that the beautiful girl at school never bothered to learn a sense of humour, never bothered to learn how to have an interesting conversation, never even learned how to dance. Hardly learned how to talk. Certainly didn't bother finding out how to add up. She knew that she'd never need to, because she was a beautiful girl. And the same women tell me, is true of men. Beautiful men simply have got nothing to offer. They are a drink of water, because they can stand quietly on the edge of the dance floor and simply expect to be picked up by beautiful women. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I know the magazines, especially the women's magazines, are absolutely full of articles explaining to you why there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you look like, although on the other hand, here's what you'd look like if you were made over. But the truth of the matter is, and you and I know it's the truth, it's better to be physically perfect. It's better to be Pierce Brosnan than Woody Allen. It is. Damn it, it is. Isn't it? It's better to be Cindy Crawford than Roseanne Barr. It just is, isn't it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Have you ever in your life seen a good-looking man who was funny? No. Ditto women? Absolutely not. They don't need to. They don't need to do all that work. They don't need to be up in their bedroom practicing their witty lines or their magic tricks. They already have some magic. They're beautiful. They're physically perfect. Free call 0500 10 53 89. If you want to celebrate that fact, if you want to say simply that you're envious, you know it's the truth, hats off to them. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There's nothing worse than somebody who hasn't got it trying to suggest that they've got a personality or charisma, which they know they need because they are less than physically perfect. It will be a lot easier for them to have cosmetic surgery than try and develop charisma. Free call 0500 10 53 89. How wonderful it must be to wake up in the morning and before you've even run a brush through your hair or splashed some water on your face, to catch sight of yourself in the bedroom mirror, for there will be a bedroom mirror, nay several, and realise that that is how beautiful you look even before you try. The rest of the day is downhill. It's a dream. It doesn't matter what befalls you in life. If you're beautiful, if you're physically perfect, it hurts all the less. So, have that surgery. Go to the gym. Choose your parents wisely. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Supermodels are worth Every penny. The time and the effort that they have put into this essential talent, sheer beauty, when they were younger, is inestimable. And they give us that beauty, which is an enormous gift. They give us something to aspire to. They give us a yardstick by which to judge not only ourselves, but that other girl who wants to go out with the chap that you want to go out with. So you know exactly where you stand. The sacrifices that they make are enormous and well documented. We don't need to go into that. Physical beauty has its price. It's a very high price to pay. That's why the rewards have to be so fair. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Are good-looking people better at their job than ordinary-looking people and funny-looking people? You bet your life they are. What are the most important jobs in the world today? That's easy, being prime ministers and presidents. Is Tony Blair a better prime minister because he is better looking than Robin Cook? We shall never know, because the popular wisdom is that Robin Cook will never be prime minister because he's not as good-looking as Tony Blair. Will we ever have a president of the United States who looks interesting in the way that, say, Richard Nixon did? No, of course not. Nowadays, and from now on, forevermore, American presidents will look like film stars. I met a man who had worked with Bill Clinton when he was over here for the D-Day 50th anniversary celebrations, and I said, what did he look like? And this guy said, he looked like a president. He was 6'3", and he glowed. He was physically perfect, all barring one small part of him, and that'll be caught in the spring. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It must be great to be physically perfect. You save money on drinks. You just never have to stand your round. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Listen to call 0500 10 53 89. Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation.
We're celebrating physically perfect people. Don't you wish you were? I do. But the solution is there if you can save up a couple of grand or more, or get yourself down the gym a little bit more often. And it won't be long, will it, before people are able to have their chromosomes augmented so that, well, whatever our parents look like, we can end up looking like Robert Redford. Shirley calls from West Yorkshire. You're on Talk Radio, Shirley. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Shirley from West Yorkshire.
It is.
And I think I'm beautiful. I'm 62, and I've got bags under my eyes. I'm overweight, and I'm quite slightly deformed. But I am a born-again Christian. I belong to the Lord. And he says I'm a child of his. And in his eyes, I am beautiful. And I believe that.
Well, there's a lot of truth in what you say, but we won't be seeing you in the centrefolds, will we?
No.
No, we are talking about something slightly different in this hour of the programme.
Well, you asked me why I think I'm beautiful, and I'm telling you.
Yes, you're beautiful on the inside.
The Lord, in the eyes of the Lord, he says I'm beautiful.
No, but in the eyes
and
of the
I think I am.
In the eyes of the Lord, you're not physically beautiful. And that's okay, I'm not.
Well, he
I can live with that.
At imperfections, you see, so that he says I'm beautiful, so I think I am.
No, but it's not in the Lord's eyes, it's in Tatler's eyes and Vogue.
I'm afraid not, but that's not important to me, as you well know.
Shirley, thank you for your call.
Okay.
I'm sure you're physically much more beautiful than you realise.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And so am I. Jason calls from Hull. You're on Talk Radio, Jason. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy. How's it going?
Jason, never been better. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks.
Knockout. How's your profile?
Firstly, why do you keep saying good morning at the beginning of your shirt when it's afternoon?
To annoy people.
All right.
And also because it's never afternoon until you've had your lunch. Did you know that?
True.
So there's your answer. I haven't had my lunch at 2 o'clock.
Well, I'd like to point out that I think physical perfection's really irrelevant. It's what's inside of you that counts. And why can't we be just how we are, Tommy?
You're not very good looking, are you, Jason?
I wouldn't say I was bad looking. I wouldn't say I was good looking.
No.
But what about the inner beauty? What about who we are, not what we look
Well,
like?
that's a different conversation. Why can't you have the one we're having? What's wrong with the conversation I'm having, which is about physical beauty? There's such a thing. Have you seen Michelangelo's statue of David?
Yeah,
What?
but physical beauty in
I'm
whose
not
eyes?
gay. What? Everybody's eyes. The statue of David is beautiful.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. What?
No, it isn't.
It is.
I don't think it's beautiful.
You don't know the one I mean.
Well-
8 foot of alabaster bloke with huge hands.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
it's ugly.
Ugly?
Yes.
Why?
Well,
How? In what way?
Because it's not beautiful. It's only beautiful in your eyes. And you take for example, good looks, it totally counteracts personality. The good-looking girls at school, for example, that they were usually severely lacking in intellectual conversation. They were usually giggly, uninteresting, and generally moody.
You don't take them out at 15, do you, to talk about Proust?
What's Proust?
Exactly.
What does it matter when you're like elderly? Because you're all going to be ugly eventually.
Look, somebody as uncharismatic as you, Jason, must be pretty good-looking, surely.
I'm not uncharismatic.
You certainly are.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I am. You're warbling now. You're warbling that David is not a beautiful statue, and he is a beautiful man. There's such a thing as beauty, Jason, in the eye of the beholder.
Beholder, exactly my point.
And that is valid. That is real. That is tangible.
Yes, but I'm saying that you find it beautiful, but I don't.
What do you find beautiful? Who's a beautiful man?
The countryside.
Who's a beautiful man?
Who's a beautiful man? Well, I don't judge males as being beautiful, Tommy. I'm not like Simon is.
No, you don't have to be... Hang on, I've got to remember which it is. You don't have to be homosexual in order to find a man beautiful. George Best was a beautiful man when he was a footballer, wasn't he?
What? With a beard like that?
He didn't always have a beard.
Yeah, but I can't believe you're saying that men are attractive.
Of course they are, for
against
God's
nature.
sake. No, it doesn't. I can see
it does.
I can see that something is beautiful, even if it does not provide me with a sexual frisson. What's wrong with that?
Well,
Open up.
It's gay. Oh, excuse me. It is a homosexual perspective.
It is not. That's ridiculous.
You can say that men are ugly, but you can't say they're beautiful.
All right, so if you say anything other than a woman is beautiful, there's something wrong with you. So how can you say that's a beautiful tree? What does that make you? That's even worse, isn't it?
A tree isn't masculine, is it?
How do you know?
What do you mean, how do I know?
You have to find out the gender of anything before you can decide whether it's beautiful or be neutral about it.
Well, if you're a man and you're referring to something else, you're referring to another male that's beautiful, there's something wrong with you, I reckon.
Jason, thank you very much indeed. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Nigel calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Nigel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Sir.
Listen, I would just have to totally and utterly disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because, I am beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got intelligence.
Yeah.
And I've got charisma.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy before, he was wrong as well.
Mm.
Because you see, if I can say that I am beautiful, then you get me.
Yeah. Do you fancy yourself?
Well, I don't fancy myself. I just think that.
How long do you spend after a bath looking at yourself in the mirror?
Well, I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now, and
Yeah.
it's like just. What else can I say? It's just there.
Marvellous. You're very lucky. But could you fancy yourself under any circumstances?
Well, if I can understand why women fancy me, and I can understand why when they look at me that they want to look, they just want to carry on looking, and it's like I can understand their point of view.
Good.
See, it's like you can't say that people that are beautiful haven't got intelligence or charisma because you look at people like Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, because I've been told
Wesley
that I look
Snipes.
Well, not Wesley Snipes. I agree. It's
Okay, not Wesley Snipes.
But
Okay.
Denzel Washington, I've been told that I look. I've been told that I look like him.
Denzel Washington, but not Wesley Snipes.
Well, Denzel Washington's got more personality than Wesley Snipes.
Has he?
Yeah.
He's an 8.
He's an.
On the personality scale.
Well.
A 10.
No, not a 10. I'd say about an 8 or a 9.
An 8 or 9. And Wesley Snipes is.
I'd be a 10.
You're a 10. Of course you are. We can tell.
But
we take your good looks on trust because this is the radio. But your charisma and your intelligence, Nigel, shine through like 1,000 beacons.
Well, I may become an actor depending on how I feel. You may see me in the future.
Or else what?
Take just 12 weeks.
To Tommy Boyds. Free call 0500 10.
From Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio. Thank you for calling, Peter.
Hi, Tommy.
Peter.
I would argue that there is no such thing as physical perfection. And the people who we deem in society as physically perfect frequently have major insecurities about the way they look and are always looking for improvement. So by that, I would say that perfection is never attainable.
Mm-hmm.
What one person might see as perfect, other people might see them as having many failings.
Okay, purely for the sake of argument then.
Yep.
Give me 3 physical imperfections enjoyed by Muhammad Ali.
Well, it's not a case of they have to have 3, they might only have 1.
Which would that be then, that one?
Well, I don't know Muhammad Ali well enough to say what he might see as being imperfect, but for a start, I would say his voice. Take a look at physically. Then I would say his hair.
What's wrong with Muhammad Ali's hair?
Well, I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it was perfect.
Of course it was perfect. Everything about the man was perfect.
In your eyes, and which is precisely my point. There is a stark difference between beauty and perfection. And if you were to ask Muhammad Ali, was there anything he would like to change about his physical appearance?
You reckon he'd like to change his hair?
Well, I wouldn't say his hair, but I would imagine he might want to change something about him. Demi Moore has been quoted as saying she wouldn't consider herself as perfect. Yet in many men's eyes, she's the epitome of perfection.
I think what we're saying in this hour, Peter, is that the quest for perfection, for physical perfection, is a noble one.
But it's never attainable, is what I'm saying, because as soon as you would have goals that would take you towards perfection, and as soon as you've reached those goals, then you might be looking for something more. So perfection would be just one continuum. You'd never actually reach it.
We do all know that, but we still pursue it.
Right, okay.
Don't we? We can't all be wrong. We all pursue physical perfection.
Well, yeah, we always look at improving ourselves in whatever way possible.
And that's good, isn't it?
Well, I think it is good.
Because we're moving in the right direction.
But I don't think it's the most important thing either. I mean, you were making a comment about you don't need other aspects like intellectualism or personality or humour.
You don't.
But if you had a room of people all sitting there enjoying a conversation and one person was outstandingly more beautiful than anybody else, but actually did not contribute to anything and just sat there looking pleasant, then people would soon lose interest in them. And then
No, because if there were a member of the opposite sex, Peter, and there was the remotest chance of a spark, right, you would never ever lose interest in that person until you'd either made the spark fly or seen it die.
You said until, so you agree that spark would die, that you would lose interest in them.
Well, you get bored with anybody, even if they're great conversationalists, have you noticed?
So what you're actually saying then is that physically perfect people holds the attention span of people that little bit longer than somebody who is less beautiful.
I think so, don't you?
Well, I would agree with that point. Totally.
After all, look at all our newsreaders and weather girls.
Well, there's a couple who I wouldn't particularly...
What, the weather girls? What, the weather... They're all fantastic. You can't see
Sean Lloyd is a classic example.
Fantastic, gorgeous. Bobby Charlton's girl.
I wouldn't agree with that.
No, gorgeous. Very
But yeah, there's a lot of people out there who I would say were beautiful, but I wouldn't say were perfect.
Have you ever looked... I had this conversation with my mate at the weekend. We were sitting down to watch some football on the telly and the weather came on.
Yeah.
And both of us paused in the conversation, and I know why. So I turned to him and I said, have you ever seen the weather forecast without wondering about the possibility between yourself and the lady weather forecaster? And he stopped and he thought and he went, no. That's an honest answer. It's true, isn't it?
Well, I've never taken it quite that far, but I must admit I do what... On these few occasions I do watch the weather, then the weather is the least important thing in my mind at that time.
You never look at the map first.
Well, that's quite right, yeah.
Never.
Hairstyle, what they're wearing, etc.
Right. And they are chosen, those women, not for their physical good looks, but because they're meteorologists. No.
Well, yes. Or they're,
No.
So how to get on in life and take a degree in meteorology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take Ulrika Johnson to classic.
Well, I was just thinking about Ulrika myself. You do, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know whether, to go back to my first argument, whether she will consider herself as perfect, but she certainly has grown in confidence-wise and obviously realised the potential for her looks. Take the recent, the Sports Awards over the weekend, when she was very flirtatious with the camera. And the dress she was wearing and the way she was stooping forward, etc. Which immediately caught my eye, and I couldn't tell you any of the people who won awards at the weekend.
Did you see that comedy showcase of hers?
No, I missed that.
It was an absolute... It was worth archiving. It was fantastic.
Were there any comedy elements in there?
Oh, the writing... Irrelevant? Well, you know, it was really her comic skills, her sort of light entertainment flair carried the whole thing. Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer and various others wrote the material, but I mean, she just made it sing.
But would you say that Ulrika Johnson was perfect?
Better than perfect, because besides being a physically perfect specimen, she has talent and charisma.
Yes, but physically, would you say she was... Well, how would you say she was perfect? There's not one element of Ulrika Johnson that you would change.
No.
Right.
Would you? What would you change? Who's the women listening to this? Oh, men. Go on then, what would you change?
What would I change about Ulrika Jonsson?
Yeah.
Let me think. Well, I would have to concede that nothing immediately springs to mind. Although what I can't understand is when someone's got... No, I'll ignore what I was just about to say.
No, you won't.
But,
legs?
Yeah, I wasn't too hot on her legs, and they seemed rather scrawny for my liking.
Okay. It's the same with Patsy Kensit, her ankles. Doesn't know it's too big.
Well, I've never noticed her ankles, to be fair.
Peter, it's been a revelation talking to you, and very educational for all of us. Women especially.
You're welcome.
This is how men talk, however, and that's that. Nothing you can do about it.
That's exactly right.
Cheerio.
Cheers, Tommy.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Wisdom of Peter in Birmingham. We're discussing physical perfection. It's easier to be physically perfect. It's better to be physically perfect. If you've got the money and you've got the time, it's what you should be aiming for. You know you are aiming for it. You must feel as though you're selling yourself short if you're not actively pursuing this thing that you envy in others when you see it. And yet at the same time, you experience this warm glow of awe when you see them on the box, telling you what the weather's going to be like tomorrow or whatever. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Alison has called from Watford. You're on Talk Radio, Alison. A comment about a previous caller, I believe.
Yes, Jason from Hull. I felt very sorry for him, actually, the fact that he couldn't think another male was beautiful. What happens when he has his son?
I like people who can win an argument before they've even tossed up the ball, Alison. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. My pleasure.
Thank you for your call. Do you find other women attractive?
Oh, yes, certainly do. I mean, some of them I could kill because they're so beautiful. But
who would you kill because she's beautiful?
Oh, well, not kill literally. But
I know what you mean.
Ooh.
You could think. Are you still thinking? Hello? Are you still thinking? I think she must have fallen off the line. That's a pity. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Very interesting, isn't it, to find out which women think are attractive, and ditto which men think are attractive. Let's begin with Jerry calling from London. Jerry, you're on Talk Radio. Which men do you think are attractive?
Hello there. A recent caller gave away his sexuality completely because Wesley Snipes is very, very yummy. And,
yummy?
Well, he's a gorgeous, attractive man.
Gorgeous?
Oh, yes, I could welcome him in my door any day.
Really? Who else? Which other men do you find attractive?
Well, that tennis player, what's his name?
Pete Sampras?
No, the English one.
Tim Henman?
Tim Henman, he's very yummy.
Is he yummy?
But what I also say is, and it's not really a sexist comment because I'm gay, is that Ulrika Watsit is completely plastic. I mean, she's a fake.
I bet you can drink a pint of beer quicker than you can.
No, I brace her down, and then I go and find Wesley Snipes afterwards.
That's very interesting. Okay, so you're gay?
Yep.
Okay, and so you like good-looking men?
Yep.
Are you a good-looking man?
Well, I think, considering my age, yes.
Is it possible for you to turn yourself on by looking at yourself? I asked the question in all seriousness. It interests me because you can't tickle yourself.
I would say it is plausible, yes.
Really?
Without being...
Well, you'd never need to go out, would you?
Well, I don't go out, but I mean, I would say that I do find myself attractive.
You do?
But I mean, I would say that Wesley Snipes would not be unwelcome at my front door.
No, we've got that.
And Ulrika Jonsson would be chucked in the bin.
She would. Jerry, thank you for your call.
All right.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Physical perfection, isn't it fantastic? Richard calls from Cambridgeshire.
Hello?
You're on Talk Radio, Richard.
Hi. Beauty is no mystery. I mean, there are lots of people think that there is one specific kind of thing which makes someone beautiful. But there aren't. There are obviously lots of things. I mean, I happen to be gay, so I don't know about this, but, men seem to like women with large breasts.
They do. Some.
Yes, well, but surely that's because it's to feed their child.
No.
No?
No, according to anthropologists, it's not.
No?
It's because in more primitive times, we, like other mammals, had as a sexual signal what was called the buttock cleavage.
Yeah.
And that is sort of reproduced, if you like, in female breasts for the male of the species.
But why is it reproduced like that? It's all part of the sort of evolution process, isn't it?
Yes, well, the why is open for debate, as indeed is the whole idea, but that's why man is the only mammal which reproduces face-to-face.
Yeah. Also in men, I mean, some women, and certainly in the gay world, queenie men, you know, stuff, oh, hello there, they don't have any muscles, and they always go for nice, big, strong blondes, but it's because they can do the jobs that they can't.
I'm interested in this idea. Do you find
the beauty is it's naturally selected.
Yes, so you find out what kind of a job you're going to have in life when you realise how good-looking you are or aren't.
Well, no. How good-looking you are to someone else, and that's the person you're right for, because you have all the characteristics which they need in a partner.
Yes. But you don't think that when you look in the mirror you can tell, oh, I'm going to be an airline steward, or I'm going to be a bank manager?
Certainly, but that's like a generic, isn't it? It's a generic of all of the good-looking bits and pieces, or the attractive things, isn't it? It's generic.
But you could look at somebody, couldn't you, and say, he doesn't look like a bank manager. But you rarely do.
Well, I suppose so. Bank manager.
What do you do, Richard?
I don't do anything at the minute.
What will you be doing?
Hopefully something in computers.
Right, understood. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We're all in sales. Some people are actually selling double glazing. Others of us are selling, well, whatever. Ourselves, if we're teachers, for example. Whatever you are, you're selling yourself slightly. And isn't it easier to sell if you've got good looks? You don't have to be physically perfect, but if you're barking up that tree, if you're going in that direction, if you're better looking than the person who you are trying to get to buy, surely your job is that much easier. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Justine calls from Suffolk. You're on Talk Radio, Justine.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
Hi. At the beginning, you were saying that physically perfect people have an easy time, but as you get older, that wears off, and it's the people who have learned to be have charisma and have a sense of humour that find it more enduring, these characteristics.
Well, you have to develop a sense of humour, don't you, as you get older, because your looks start to go.
You do.
Yes.
And in my case, I got by on my looks for a long time, found everything very easy. Always someone to buy you a drink at the bar. But my husband, who is just an average sort of looking person, he's got a terrific sense of humour.
What's his name?
Stephen.
Stephen, have you told him that he's average looking?
Oh, no, he's very good looking to me.
Yes, but not to anybody else.
When he was at school, he was slightly overweight and had asthma. And so he had to find other ways to get friends, make people laugh, and he became the joker.
And what age did you meet?
Oh, well, I was 21 and he was 28.
Right. And how soon did you get married?
He asked me to marry him in 6 weeks.
Really?
And so it's been great, but I can see that as we go on, he will always have his talent, which is making friends, making people laugh, and I shall have to work that bit harder.
Justine, thank you for your call. I've got a couple of jokes, but I won't tell them to you, because if you haven't got a sense of humour, you couldn't make them funny, could you?
Probably not.
Oh, don't. I was pulling your leg.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Tony calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Tony. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir.
You said it was a bit easy to be good-looking. I'm very good-looking. And it's not always easy. It's not easy standing there in a club and you get millions of ugly people coming up to you.
I know.
And then you feel sorry for some of them because they try so hard to appeal to you.
I know. You almost feel like giving them some spare change, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
And you could end up with numerous diseases if you try and do that. You see?
Yeah.
So it's not always easy. I think I'm very, very good looking. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't believe I'm looking at myself.
I know. I can imagine.
You know, but I mean, there are other things that are easy, like selling, like you said, and other things, but it's not always easy.
When you see other people being held up as being good looking, do you find yourself looking at them and going, no? Take David Ginola, the footballer. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah, I think he's good looking.
But is he as good looking as you?
No.
No, of course not.
No,
so when you see like TV advertisements with him and all that flowing hair and the camera quite down low, because you know the camera goes low to chest height and looks up at somebody, you're meant to think, wow.
Yeah.
That's always a clue. The director thinks they're dealing with somebody beautiful, so presumably they'd shoot you from the floor.
Right.
But you look at David Ginola and you compare yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I always.
So whose league are you in?
Sorry?
Whose league are you in?
Oh gosh, that's difficult. I don't know. I mean, I've seen one or two people in my travels that come close, but I'm quite high.
Really?
I think, yeah.
You've only ever seen a couple of people who are as good looking as you.
Yeah.
Right, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but I saw one guy yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was very good looking. I think he's on a par with me. He'll give me some trouble, I guess.
If you find yourself sat on a bus, say, and there's lots of other men about your age, do you check them out just to make sure that they're uglier than you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to, because you have to know how to play. Because if I'm competing with someone who's really compared to me on good looks, then I have to rely on my sense of fun or how I can, lyrics, things like that.
And considering you're so good looking, how is it that you've been able to develop this wonderful personality that you've got?
I think when I was younger, I didn't think I was good looking. And I got teased a lot. It wasn't because of my looks, it was because of where I come from in my country. It's a long, complicated story.
Understood.
So I had to develop other things until I started to realize that, boy, I am...
Understood. And what age are you now?
I'm 26.
And when do you think you'll peak?
35. Middle of life.
So in the middle of life, you will be even more beautiful than you are now?
I would be absolutely stunning.
Holy smoke. I shall be out of town. Tony, that's very interesting listening to you. Thank you so much for your call.
You're welcome.
Marvellous. Very interesting. Only seen two people in the whole world in all of his life who are as good looking as he is. But the reason he has a charisma, I thought this was an important point he made. When he was young, he did not realise he was going to be beautiful. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's easier to be physically perfect, isn't it? So let's take our hat off to those folk who have attained it. Take an apple with a blemish on it is not a perfect apple.
Well, if all apples have blemishes, would it not be the perfect one that was out?
Noses are meant to be straight. Or slightly cute.
No.
Yes, they are.
Your perception's
Slightly
from...
retrouché.
No, your perception is from something that's been installed into you. Whether that be from childhood, from media, or wherever. Who says that noses should be straight?
It's inherent in us. We know what is a good specimen and what isn't.
I disagree.
Well, why do people always seem to pair themselves off then with physical specimens who are from the same group as them? Gorgeously good-looking people do not marry ordinary-looking people.
I think that's an inside thing, isn't it? That's a people thing. I think somebody would have a worthiness within themselves, knowing what they look like and who they expected to be with, and then they would go out of their way to find these people. You say about Ulrika Johnson. I mean, all these people that could perhaps change this with Ulrika Johnson, or would add this or the other. They're not with Ulrika Johnson purely because they've either found someone else, or they haven't walked around there and knocked on her door and said, "Hello, do you want to come out for a drink this evening?"
Yes.
And if they're
look, I'm afraid surely you're not going to try on the argument that most men aren't going out with Ulrika Johnson because they found somebody else.
No, I think most men don't go out with women like that because they're intimidated by them.
She wouldn't go out with them. She wouldn't go out with ordinary-looking men unless they were extremely rich or talented.
Oh, I don't agree entirely with that. I bet she doesn't get asked out by many ordinary-looking men.
It's an interesting point.
If you look at the good-looking lady stood in the corner of a club, she's normally stood on her own without anyone talking to her because everyone's afraid of being put down, aren't they?
Yes, that's very true. Who is it who said this to me? The tennis player. What's that German tennis player? Steffi Graf.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in... I did a spell working in sport, covering tennis, and got talking to her, and it was actually good fun. We talked about a quarter of an hour. The conversation quickly turned around to things like music and night clubbing and things and what one does in the evenings. And she said it was very boring being Steffi Graf because absolutely nobody ever asked her out.
That's right.
And so then you find yourself going, what are you doing? Yeah, but I didn't. I went, oh, Guyana. Oof.
But that generally is the case, isn't it?
Yes, it's true. That's true. Nice chewing the cud with you, Damon.
Nice to speak to you, Tommy.
Talk to you again sometime.
Bye-bye.
Adios. Free call 0500 1053 89. I had not expected Ulrika Johnson to have play such a large role in so many men and women's thinking. So it may be a good thing in the not too distant future to devote an hour of this programme to celebrating one of this country's great icons. Richard calls from Brighton. You're on Talk Radio. Richard, we're talking about physical perfection. Hello.
Hi, Tom. I love physical perfection. It's fabulous. What I wanted to say was, it might be a bit of a sweeping generalisation, a contentious issue. Going back to the lad from Hull, who couldn't find any men attractive. I think there's a real north-south divide on this. I'm a southerner. I've just spent 5 years in the north. And the amount of stick I got from my ability to find other men attractive was unbelievable.
Really?
You know, if you're in a pub or you're walking down the street and you'd say, you know, all my southern friends, we'd say, oh, look at that guy's hair, or look at his eyes, or whatever. And you do that up north and you go, what, you're gay or something?
Well, whereabouts is this exactly?
That was in York, actually.
In the north of England?
York.
So you went to York and started going on about how good-looking the men are?
Yeah.
And you cleared the pub quickly?
Basically, yeah. I mean,
and that came as a surprise to you?
A bit, yeah. I mean, I'm a heterosexual guy, but on my bathroom mirror, I have my ultimate hero, a picture of.
Yes.
Whenever any of my northern friends were around my house, they'd be like, what have you got that fella up on your bathroom mirror for?
And who is this?
And it's Paolo Maldini.
Right.
Paolo Maldini is just God. I mean, going back to, Michelangelo's David and all that. And this is a guy who's great cheekbones, great eyes, great lips, flowing dark hair.
Yes.
He's also the captain of AC Milan.
He is.
You know, he's the captain of Italy.
Best defender in the world.
Best defender in the world.
And he chose his dad wisely.
He chose his dad wisely. Now, why that guy isn't every male's role model, I do not know.
I'm grateful for your call, Richard. I'm going to squeeze in John, who gets the last word on this one. By the way, Maldini's dad is the manager of the Italian team. That's why he seems to get picked an awful lot. John, the last word on this one. You're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy. I'm incredibly beautiful. In fact, I'm so beautiful, I've fallen in love with myself.
Marvellous.
And I want to marry myself.
Really?
But my parents object.
Yes.
They say I'm not good enough for me. But the thing is, I've never let myself down. I'm always there when I want me. I'll always lend myself money. I'm my best friend.
Yes.
Why shouldn't I marry myself?
Because you'll be unfaithful, John. Thank you for your call. Stand by for Peter Dealey. I look forward to talking with you at 2 tomorrow. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
This is definitely not Bob putting a funny voice on. Click like and subscribe to the Tommy Boyd Shrine YouTube channel, and we may get more Bob Staunton. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to stick laxatives in Tommy Boyd's coffee. If he won't call it quits, I'll make him strain with the squits.